welcome to the house of Talk About Life. And from now, you are able to view the episodes on YouTube, Talk About Life, and also on podcast, Talk About Life. And Talk About Life is a platform whereby people voice opinion, something that's close to their heart regarding issues of life. And it could be issues about money, jobs, business, successes, victories, disappointments, something that people would like to share. And on this earth, our lives are important and our breath is important. We may not be important to the governments because we're just like a number, but we're important because at the end when we breathe and at the end, at the last breath, everyone is important. And I always feel that we have lives like the kings and the queens of the past, and we have lives like the presidents and the prime ministers, and we have lives like the Fortune 500 CEOs, right? We breathe the same thing and we go to the toilet the same way.
Right.
Very true. Very true.
And also with the democratizing of technology, I'm able to see you guys and talk to you guys in the US, and I'm able to welcome you guys to Singapore. And that's what I call. And that's what I call a democratization of technology. And anyone with the phone, be it they're in the rural parts of India, in Africa, they can always tune in. It makes, in the past, when we say that our lives are important and our voice is important, it's none other than now it's being magnified, it's being manifested. Because the technology has made it so that we are able to tap onto and make our lives different or seen and our voices heard. It's a time that it's exciting, right? Even in the midst of the gloom of the pandemic. But it brought us closer. It brought the neighborhood closer. Even without knowing each other, like Jermel and Ariel, I'm able to talk to you, which I would not have even thought about pre-pandemic. How the world has really become smaller and how the world has become one. And we all are just fighting with one enemy right now, the enemy of the unknown.
Very much so. Very, very much so.
So welcome you guys, Jermel and Ariel, to Singapore. And a little bit about Singapore. To let you know the context, is a tropical island near to the equator, and it's near to Indonesia, where your ex-president was, Barack Obama, where he was brought up. So we're just an hour from there. And that kind of like sets the background in your mind, like where is Singapore?
Right.
And the temperature here right now, I'm here at 7th of November, 9:21 a.m. And I think the temperature outside is about like 32 degrees Celsius, which is like really tropical. And I'm talking in Celsius. I know you guys talk in Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit, right.
So it's really summer all year round. You can wear a bikini and go to the beach right now, any time of the year. We have got the temperature of Australia right now, because Australia now is in the southern hemisphere, that they are enjoying summer, right? People are going to the beach right now. So we've got summer all year round, and it's a little island of 7 million people. About 5 million are residents, about 2 million are foreigners who are here for work, opportunities, studies, etc. About 6 to 7 hours from Australia, 5 hours to Philippines, and we're just at the border with Malaysia. So there you have it, and it's my opportunity to tell the world where is Singapore. And Singapore is not China.
Yeah.
We are Singapore, right? But you first and foremost, welcome to this beautiful Saturday morning in Singapore, and thank you guys for being my guests as a duo.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
having
us. Thank you for having us.
Tell our audience and tell the world and tell Singapore and this part of the world, who are you, what you do, and you guys are professional podcasters. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel.
Well, I am Alexis. On the show, I am called Black Barbara Walters. We have.
I am Jermel Thomas. We are a growing podcast, and our motto is eavesdrop on our conversation.
Yeah.
And so we take that.
Yeah,
ahead,
and I heard that. It's really fun to be with you guys.
We thank you. We're missing one person. We're missing
Lamar.
our third host, which is Lamar, aka Mr. Wildcard. But he's a part of our group, and we are constantly growing on YouTube. We're constantly growing on Facebook, Instagram, any social media platform. Yeah, the name of our show, because we said what our eavesdrop was. Well, the name of our show is called I Often Wonder. It came about between a conversation that Jermel and I had at our daytime job. And we kind of looked at it as we love to talk so much, let's make a legit business out of it and make money. So we, started to take the steps that we needed to. We had little production meetings. We started out with literally just an iPhone and a microphone. So we grew to what you're seeing behind us.
Now we got a full-blown studio.
Yeah, we grew to having a studio. It took a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and I think I can speak for all three of us that it's something that we definitely we would do all over again if we had to.
Right.
Yeah, and doing what you do takes a lot of commitment. And also podcasting, I can see in the US is a growing movement. And it actually is an enterprise. It's a very creative process. And it's an enterprise because it's an endeavor. You have to have a brand, a positioning, a target audience.
Yeah.
And you've got to sell your service, that is your voice and entertainment. And you got to keep your customers, right?
Right.
And they got to keep coming back. And you can sell them products. And it's such a whole new enterprise. I think this is going to solve poverty in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm thinking about it. Everyone should be doing it. Everyone. It's going to solve a huge, big problem of the government. And anyone can tap into, whether you've got education or not, whether you've got opportunity of a product or a service or not, you're selling your content. But we find an opportunity as an enterprise. So you guys are doing a great job. Kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
So I wish you all the success, and I want to hear you guys about today's topic. The topic about pandemic in your country or pandemic in my country. And some of the questions I think the world is hungry to hear, because we don't want to hear it from the media,
Right.
I think the world has woken up, the woke generation, through the education of the media, that, the media is actually controlled by powerful individuals.
Right.
To say it simply, without conspiracy theories, your job is controlled by your boss, right? If your boss wants it this way, it makes him happy. If it doesn't, it says, I don't like it this way. I like it the other way. Report the other way. Tell it to me the other way. It's as simple as that, right? And the person who's reporting is just a job to the person. Just come. I can always imagine, like, okay, I'm tasked to do this job. I'm just gonna write 200 words, and I'm just gonna file it in. And my job is done for the day,
Right.
And that's what I think people are waking up to. Whatever you're reading from the media, no matter the intention. I'm not saying they're bad, right? They're good. They have their views, but I think because it is what it is. And people are just falling in an article because it's a 200-word article, it's a 300-word article. I got to do it at the end of the day. I'm just going to, I may not be able to like do the in-depth research to verify, to talk to the people in the street. And what I'm really missing out as a reader of the news is that I don't get to hear people's interviews anymore. I don't get to I don't get to see the CNN correspondent going out to the street and putting the mic in front of people and asking them questions. I don't see that because I'm from Singapore and I live, I mean, I travel a lot. I watch a lot of international news, and it used to be CNN was the mainstream media in the world. If you want to tap onto the internet, if you want to tap onto international news, and that was the only source for 20, 30 years, right? You stop because of budget constraints, marketing constraints, budget constraints. They stop having this numerous correspondents going out to the streets talking to people because it costs money to be paying someone to do that. And you know that number of people that you employ throughout the world is shrinking.
Right.
That's very,
And I mean, it's a kind of like it is a business, you know. So I see it as I would rather hear it from people and from people like you. You're not controlled by a big huge conglomerate. You're not controlled, and I think people want to hear it from me. Even though it represents my personal opinion, it is my personal opinion and not controlled by my husband, controlled by my boss or my neighbor, you know. So that therein lies the wonderful thing about democratization of technology, and that you and I can have this wonderful, beautiful, truthful and honest conversation with your opinion and with my opinion, and with nothing in between. How beautiful is that? I mean,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yes. You know, so you guys, I would like to promote you guys to tell us some of the topics that you talk about usually on your podcast.
We talk a little bit about everything. We one of the things when we came up with our show was we wanted to talk about the things that people wonder about. Hence the name I often wonder. So we've done shows on music. We've done shows on the trending topics in America, the Black Lives Matter movement. We've done we just did an episode on the election. We've done
homosexuality in the church.
Homosexuality in the church. We cover all bases. We've done, you know, the quote unquote gossip kind of topics where like we've talked about Dr. Dre and his divorce. But we talk about whatever is near and dear to any of us. Like right now we have a football series that's actually going on. And that show is very near and dear to our third co-host, Lamar. So every week we do our NFL picks. We put a show out there every Tuesday for that. And you know, we just we pick topics that mean something to us and that we can actually inform our viewers and our listeners on. Like for instance, coming up in February, we have 28 days of Black history and Black excellence. And what that show is about is we literally take every day of the month of February and we interview someone in the Black community that is either doing something big, has done something big, to highlight them and to highlight, you know, the traits and the talents that they have, and to help bring more attention to the things that they do while they indulge us by coming on to our show.
Right.
Fantastic. Thank you. And you know, wide phenomenon of the pandemic, I think people will tune into you guys more because people are staying home.
Right.
And this is like an opportunity for such an enterprise like yours to really be broadcasting issues which is outside, you know, in the world. Because people are kept in the homes, people are, even if they are not in the home, I mean, the world is like, their world of living is really more constrained. People are not
Right.
traveling that much. People would like to get more news. People have more opportunities to be in a car, in a home, to be tuning into something. So therefore, you guys are doing it in the right time. And the issues that you are doing is so it's the hot topic of the US, right?
Right, of the world.
And I think like one of the things with us is we really didn't really start taking off until the pandemic hit. Because we all had busy schedules beforehand, so we were meeting once a month or once a week to record. And now we see each other pretty much every day, every day to record and to be able to be on top of stuff. So, you know, for us, the pandemic was a little bit of a blessing because it allowed us to actually sit down and update our studio with, you know, the green screen that you see behind us, the microphones, the microphone holders, all this stuff allowed us, we were allowed to do it during the pandemic. We actually were able to really sit down and really come up with a format and a plan on how we wanted to execute it, because Jermel is very much a perfectionist. I'm very much a perfectionist. Lamar is along for the ride. But no, he's a perfectionist as well. So, you know, the pandemic for us has been a blessing in disguise. Now, now, to be honest, you know, it still has its downsides because it put a lot of us out of work here, like for myself. But it allowed us to focus a lot on our dreams and to take our feet and put them in a different lane than what we're normally used to.
Yeah, and you know, the topic pandemic in your country. You know, would you like to share with us which part of the U.S. you are, without divulging any of your confidentiality? Which part of U.S. you are? What?
Hey, no problem.
What are the numbers?
Yeah, no problem. We are in North Carolina. I don't know what our actual numbers are right now as far as the COVID case.
We're steady rising.
But we are steady rising, and that is because we have. So I'll break it down like this, and Jermel, correct me if I'm wrong. So we went to complete lockdown in the beginning of March. We were in lockdown pretty much all summer. We entered into what they called phase 2 midsummer. We stayed in phase 2 for a good 2 months, 3 months? Two and a half months. And what stage 2 allowed us to do was it allowed certain people to go back to work, certain people to open up restaurants and things of that nature. We literally just entered into stage 3, which pretty much opens everything back up. Kids are now going back to school where they were initially doing virtual learning. They're actually now physically this week have gone back to the actual building. And in all of that, our numbers here in North Carolina are still skyrocketing. They're still higher than what they normally would be, and what we would all like for it to be. We still have the mandate that we have to wear our masks. We still have the mandate to, you know, sanitize 6 feet apart. So all of that is still here. So we're just kind of right now kind of playing that waiting game to see if we're gonna have to go back or if we're gonna finish out 2020, you know, with staying in stage 3.
And I think too with the United States, because everything is so heavily politicized here. And so whatever happens is always backed up by some kind of politics. And I think that's the reason why the numbers in the United States are rising like they are, because the whole idea about wearing masks, you know, you take our leaders and half of them will say, well, you don't need to wear a mask. But then you got a lot of people, you know, that say they want their freedom, they walk around without masks and steady spreading the virus. And so we never can come down from the numbers, because when they try to come down from the lockdown, you got people walking around here spreading the virus because they don't want to do what they need to do with social distancing, you know, wearing masks and stuff like that, and still having these different gatherings and just spreading COVID around. So I think that's one of the reasons why our numbers are so high in the United States.
And this is something that I want to talk about, because I think the world is reading so much on the news about that in the US. And if it's not too sensitive, I hope that you can share a little bit more about what Jermel is talking about. Like, for example, I do see it's so tough because I think mid of March, you guys are on lockdown, like somewhere like mid-March until June, July.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, sounds
So
about
you
right.
were on lockdown like for 3 months, plus and minus,
3-4
and then
months.
you have
Yeah.
like 2.5 months of phase 1, and then phase 2, and now you're into like phase 3. And you,
Right.
Yeah.
it is mandatory to wear the mask outside the house.
No. Well, let me say this. Yes,
Yeah.
it is by state. It depends on what state you're in.
Yeah.
So some states, if you have a Democratic governor, most of them say yes, you have to wear a mask. In other states, if you have a Republican governor, it's kind of like wear it if you want to or you don't have to. So it varies from state to state, and in some instances it varies from city to city, and that's the problem here because no one's on the same page.
Right.
So
Have all these different.
what
Go
about
ahead.
your area?
Say that one more time.
What about your area?
Oh, here.
Yeah, your district.
So here, yeah. So here, we're in the southern part in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So in North Carolina, it's a mandate that you have to wear a mask,
Yeah.
social distance, and I don't think everything's still at full capacity yet.
Yeah, no, everything
So-
is still at, I think, at least a third of their normal capacity.
Right.
For example, churches can only have a third of their capacity of what they normally would.
Right.
They have to. A lot of places have to sanitize in between.
Mm-hmm.
Movie theaters are the same way. They have to sanitize in between, and they can only have a third of what their normal capacity is. So nothing is fully operational right now. But it's still we're still operating.
Right.
Yeah. And I want you to shine some light to the world and to this part of the world, because wearing mask in Asia, it's always been quite normal. You know, you see the Japanese wearing the mask, and people like me, because because of that density of population in Asia. And you know, in Singapore, it's a little island, but you've got like 6 to 7 million people packed in, and people go to the shops, they go to the malls, and you've got like so many people. I mean, it's really part of the normal practice for some people to take a mask for hygiene purposes, you know.
Right.
And people who don't want to get the smoke, the pollution, reasons, whatever reason. So when this was mandated in my country, or I think in many parts of Asia, it's just accepted, and people want that because for whatever reason, mask is such a thing in Asia.
Well, so where we work at.
No, but you know, in the news, what we read from you, and I like Jermel like hit the nail on the head. You've highlighted two things. Number one, there wasn't a concerted, homogeneous effort to actually do it countrywide. And if you don't do it countrywide, it can spread. You know, right?
Right.
I mean, it's almost like you've got a pest, you've got a cockroach. You can't like just clean up one spot in the house.
That's right. That's right,
the whole thing, right?
Very
like
right.
a house.
Very right.
And can you tell us about people, the diverse views of the mask practice, and what impact it had on the social community level, and what kind of dynamics it made for people living due to the diverse opinion about mask wearing, not mask wearing, when the law wasn't clear, and even when the law was mandated, there was a diverse opinion. Could you tell us the dynamics
Yeah.
general, and then tell us how it impacted you guys personally.
Well, here in the United States, I think the biggest issue in the United States is this idea of freedom.
Right.
And so the idea of freedom here is so widely spread, but still not highly understood.
What
And see,
happened?
I think what the problem here in the United States, where they think freedom means to do a free for all for whatever you want to do. And that's not exactly what freedom is about. And see, the problem is that when it came to the mask wearing, everybody wanted to complain about not having freedom. When you taking away my freedom, you taking away my freedom. But there's also laws on the book that say when there are certain things that goes on, the government can create martial law. The government can mandate certain things for the benefit of the overall health of people.
Right.
And so those things are being misunderstood, misconstrued, and not even known by certain people. And that's one of the issues. So you have a side that claims that mask is taking away their freedom. Then you have another side of people who wants to wear the mask and want to do right, and then those two people are always butting up against each other,
Right.
and fighting up against each other. And then sometimes, at some point, you have the people that's way out,
Yep.
and who really want militias and people like that want to attack people that are wearing masks.
And I would have to add, a lot of people, like Jermel said, because they want so much freedom, they don't go by what is told. It's another reason why our numbers are still high here in North Carolina and in the states, period.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they initiated saying you must wear a mask, you had people who were diagnosed with COVID, who would purposely walk into stores with no mask, and they would go ahead and act like everything was okay.
Right.
To where, unlike in other parts of the world, because the law is so, what's the word I want to use? Yeah, that works perfectly. Because the law is so strict and people actually have respect for their government, it's held differently. Because if they tell you guys in Singapore that, hey, you come out your house, you're going to jail, 95% of your people aren't going to come out their house if not 100%. If that's said here in North Carolina, they're going to still come out the house. We had when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, we had curfews here in North Carolina. And even when the pandemic first started, there were curfews that were put in place. And a lot of people still ignored those curfews. If they said being at 10 o'clock, unless you are literally working, you would get in trouble, but nothing was actually done if you were out. Because I remember there was a night that I left here from the studio pretty late, and there were cops that were riding right by me, but I didn't have the legal document of saying I was working. I just got lost of time. So nothing happened. There was no consequences to that action, so that there was no respect for the government at that point. You issue a curfew and there's no consequences when you break that curfew, then guess what? I'm going to continue to break that curfew until there is some kind of consequences. And that's what we're dealing with when it comes to the pandemic. There are no consequences that are being put in place for not wearing your mask. So a lot of stores now in North Carolina, you walk in without your mask, and managers and associates are going to look at you, and they're not going to tell you, hey, you have to get out of my store until you put a mask on. Or people will do this number right here, that you don't have a mask on.
Put the shirt up on the face. Yeah, some people do that too.
And it's like, that's not a mask. Like there has to be a level of commitment from the government, a level of commitment from the other citizens that they're going to uphold it, not only because it's, for our safety, but for their own safety. I have family to go home to. Jermel has a family to go home to. And that's like one of our biggest concerns. We go out and we still hit the streets and do our show, but when we leave the studio, we all have masks. We all have hand sanitizer. We all, we even made a mask with our show logo on it, just so we can make sure that, we're even advising our viewers to make sure that they're staying safe.
I think you brought up three things that I want you to describe a bit more. Number one, if someone is positive and they still go to the shops or they still walk to the streets without a mask, isn't
Right.
that criminal? Number one.
Well, see, that's the. Okay, go ahead.
Number one. Number two, mandatory versus social consciousness, right? You want to love your neighbor. Very general words, right? You want to take care of each other. So, mandatory versus that. And probably that's because, probably that is manifested in people who, who hold on to freedom. They talked about, okay, you're taking away my freedom because you're mandating it. But probably they also forgot to emphasize that even without the law, there is it's human decency to be socially responsible.
Right.
Neighbors. And this pandemic, it's an infectious disease, right?
Yes.
Right.
And that's why you've got quarantine rooms in the airports in the past, like when I was going through the airports in the past, what's that? But now I think you guys see it too. Like, for many years, I've always gone through the checkpoint and the customs, and then there's always this quarantine room. I said, what is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Being socially responsible.